The Kolkata rape and horror case. Do remember that today marks 1 month since that incident, that horrific, brutal incident that took place at the RG Medical College and hospital. The Supreme Court has asked tough questions to the government of Bengal. They've asked how could this incident take place when there were thousands of CCTV cameras. Also questioning the Bengal government to update the court at the very soonest, and asking for steps to be taken. In fact, they've asked for a fresh report from the CBI, and they've given a time till, given a week's time for the CBI to submit its fresh report. To remember that the CBI had submitted its status report in a sealed envelope to the bench of judges. But scathing remarks there. Why did the incident take place? Though there were CCTV cameras, the Supreme Court has asked the CBI to file that fresh report, and also, raising question as to who collected the samples. That has emerged as a relevant question. They've gone on to even say that the girl was found at 9:30 in the morning. Her jeans and her undergarments were removed, and they were lying nearby. She was in a semi-nude condition with injured marks on her body. So many questions are being raised, even regarding her legs that were found at a 90-degree angle. That can only happen when the hips were broken. We have Saurabh joining us to get us more on this. Saurabh, a lot of more clarity is being asked by the Chief Justice of India regarding the time of death, saying that there's no clarity even regarding that. Saurabh, if you can hear me, the Chief Justice of India, questioned the timing of the death, which they say, there is no clarity in regard to the timing. There was a delay of 14 hours of filing the FIR. The Supreme Court is slated to continue the hearing on Monday, where it's taken the suo motu cognizance of the rape and murder of the junior doctor at the state-run RG College and Hospital. Saurabh, if you could take us through the proceedings in court this morning.
Well, a lot of the things that you mentioned are already things in the public domain, questions that have been asked, for example, 90-degree, all of this is part of the investigation, and there's very clear documentation on these issues. What the Supreme Court was actually going through was the documentation that, accompanies these processes. For example, handing over the body to the family, it's always accompanied by certain documentation. And these documents become an important part of the investigation as well, because they establish a clear timeline of when what took place, and thereby allowing any investigative agency to also establish if process was followed or not. Now, certain questions were raised about process being followed, for example, whether the post-mortem was done at the correct time or not, whether it can be done post-midnight or not, or post 6 p.m. or not. I beg your pardon, 6 p.m. is the time. So all of these questions are these have already been asked in the public domain, and the CBI is already looking into these. Now, some of these questions were repetitions as far as the proceedings are concerned, and in fact, at one point also we must note that the Chief Justice did pull up one of the lawyers in court, and this was about whether he was addressing. In fact, the Chief Justice is very clear on that bit. He said that, are you addressing the gallery or Chief Justice of India? Lower your pitch. So, obviously, these are, there are a lot of things that have happened in this case. There are a lot of questions still to be answered. And while seeking clarity on these issues, the court has asked several questions. Now, what happens is whether the state can satisfactorily answer these questions, or do they fail to convince the court? If they fail to convince the court, then the CBI is already looking into these elements. For example, the question of has there been any tampering? Now, again, the CBI is privy to that. Or are there any other accused? Now, in that case, we at NDTV have already reported, based on source-based information from the CBI, that the CBI is not looking at any more accused in the case as of now, or whether is anyone being shielded. Now, obviously, there are questions about the hospital administration, and these are very serious questions. And then, of course, all the way to the filing of the FIR, almost a 14-hour gap from when the body was found, and a 14-hour delay. And the courts have often said that an FIR should be registered, immediately should have been registered. Hospital should have filed a complaint. Hospital did not file a complaint. And that is a lapse, definitely. Now, obviously, these are questions. The state government said that they will also by next week provide a report on what steps have already been taken to improve security and safety of doctors at the workplace and hospitals. Now, the state government also submitted that doctors were not coming back to work, and as a result of that, there have been deaths. Now, obviously, based on that, a lawyer on behalf of the doctors said that most doctors have returned to work, but it's only in Kolkata and the periphery that doctors or junior doctors have not returned because they are still getting threats. So these are all part of the proceedings, but ultimately, what are people looking at? People are looking at clarity from the CBI on these various questions that even the court is raising for clarity. But that is something that answer has to be provided by the CBI. The CBI has not publicly made any statements saying this is a court-monitored investigation and they will submit all the details in court. Now they have time till another day for them to submit the report. It's interesting to see what makes it to the order of the court, because often what happens is there are certain questions asked for clarity, there are certain observations made. Not necessarily do those observations make it to the order, and that is very important to note, because observations are made based on certain questions. Then, of course, there is an opportunity given to all sides to clarify. Here you've heard the state government lawyer, you've heard the CBI, the Solicitor General, you've heard lawyers appearing on behalf of, the students' advocate, senior advocate Karuna Nandi among them, and, senior advocate Lutra also. So a lot of lawyers making a lot of points on behalf of different viewpoints that exist on this case. Remember, there are unanswered questions today, which is why there are still people out on the streets. Who can answer those questions now? The CBI, for sure. What has the CBI said in court? It has given the court some information. Is that information in the public domain? No. Till the time that information is in the public domain, obviously there are questions in the minds of the public.